All right, very good. Okay, so let me see. Where are you joining us from? Colombia, Atlanta, California, Jamaica, New York. Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Atlanta. Very good. Okay, so I want us to introduce, and maybe Sorrel can say something about ourselves, but I want to tell you a little bit about us, who is going to be leading this conversation. Sorrel, you want to start?
Yes, I do want to start, Giovanni. I want to start by acknowledging you for being my partner in creating this space, a space where people just like you get to invent themselves newly. Like in this moment, you get to invent yourself as a leader, and as someone who's able to traffic in the world and make the difference you're committed to making. So that you're here in this conversation, I already know who you are. My name is Sorel Ketan. I'm originally from Haiti. I have led conversations like this for the better part of 30 years. Uh, the little grays there, it doesn't make me wise. It just makes me somebody who knows I'm a human being and love to be with other human beings. I'm delighted to be here with you. Giovanni and I partner in creating these conversations, leading them for the benefit of individuals like you to leave you equipped with what you need to not only lead yourself, but lead others and cause results in your communities, your companies, and your environment that are unprecedented. That's our commitment and our promise. I'm glad to be here. I welcome each of you here.
Thank you, sir. And most of you know me, and for those of you that don't know me, my name is Giovanni Gonzalez, and I'm originally from Colombia. That's where you are picking up the accent from. And I have been leading leadership development programs for around 10 years, more like 12 years. And I've had a chance to work in Africa, in South America, in the Caribbean, in North America. Um, as an education background, I have a bachelor's in international business and a master's in the manage a master's in leadership and management in the science of management and leadership. And I had the chance to work with companies, Fortune 500 companies, one of the third largest minds in the world, government officials, government institutions, nonprofit organizations, and small businesses in developing leaders to see um, the environment that they're in and the people that they're in a whole new way. Okay, very good. So that's a little bit about us, and then as we unfold the conversation, we'll let you know a little bit more about about us. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about our work so that you get a sense, a little bit of where we come from when we are unfolding these three principles of leadership. Now, one of the things that we like to say is that we know that you are here because you're looking for that, nuggets, right? You're looking for those nuggets in leadership and provide you with an insight where you can perform at a new level and get other people to perform at a new level. And we're committed to give you those insights. Now, the thing about our work and that we're committed to is to leave you with insights, yes, but mostly we want to create this conversation in the context of leaving you with questions. Because as you see on the screen, one of the things we learned from Matrix is that when Trinity told Neo, is the questions that drives you. So we don't know what the right questions are for your business, given that we're not going to be engaging about your business. But what we do know is that we provide an inquiry where you can generate new questions, you'll be in a whole new paradigm. Make sense? Raise your hand if this makes sense to you. All right, very good. Thank you, Bryce. Thank you very much. How's my sound? Can you guys hear me okay? Yes, it got better. I noticed that you had some static there.
You're good now.
I'm good now. Very good. Okay, but I want to give you a little bit of an insight of where our work is coming from. Where we pay attention to develop our programs. And that is in 3 areas. The first area, there's no order here, but the first area is ontology. And so most people haven't really heard the word ontology or haven't really engaged in the world of ontology. And in a nutshell, ontology is the science that studies concepts such as existence and being, becoming and reality in our words. Ontology gives us, you and me, access to understand what is sourcing the self-expression of a leader or a group of leaders. It's critical to understand the source of your speaking, right? And that's the world of ontology. Given that we have worked at this point with over 50 industries, hundreds of companies have come to our programs, we're listening constantly to their best practices, best strategies. So strategies are critical to create a result, right? And so we're constantly listening for what's the best strategy, right? Until we need a new strategy. And another aspect that we pay a lot of attention to in our programs is neuroscience. We study how our brain works at work to empower people to develop emotional intelligence, assertive communication, and soft skills necessary to influence others, resolve conflict, and create a high-performing environment. So those 3 areas are critical for us to develop our program. So we're constantly looking at that. So having all those 3 in the background, that's what we use for our coaching and for developing our programs. We hope to generate new questions for you. I hope that makes sense. Raise your hand if that makes sense. And I want to stop here. And I just want to ask you real quick if you have any questions so far. Yeah, go ahead, Stan. Thank you.
I was really just raising my hand to say that makes sense.
That makes sense. Okay,
yeah,
good, Stan.
It does make sense. But I didn't know about ontology, and thank you for that definition. Thank you for bringing that to me. I really wasn't aware of that.
That's great, because at the source of developing leaders, and we're going to touch on that now, but at the source of developing leaders is understanding what's sourcing their behavior, right? You can tell people what to do, but they do something else. Something else is sourcing their behavior. So we pay a lot of attention to the world of ontology. Very good. Now, here are some of the challenges that most leaders face. And you may find yourself in this conversation, right? What are some of the challenges that most leaders face? One of the challenges is that people are pulling in different directions, right? So everybody is committed. You're committed. Everybody is committed in your organization. However, their individual commitment gets them to row in a different direction from the overall goal. But people can't see it. They really are committed. They can't really see it. So they start rowing in a different direction, and people start rowing in a different direction. And then what ends up happening is that now our energy is in conflict. We're conflicting in our performance. So that's one of the things that leaders just face. The other thing that leaders just face is conflict and tensions, right? Raise your hand if you face that in your work environment, right? Conflict and tensions. You start walking on eggshells, right? Individuality getting in the way of the mission and vision of the company, right? People walking on eggshells and things are not getting done. Passive aggressive, like people don't really say what they mean, or what they don't have really a direct request. They're kind of just walking on eggshells, and people do something else, and it creates that kind of environment. However, it has an impact on the overall vision, walking on eggshells. Also, some of the things that leaders are facing is that people are being burned out. overwhelmed. Now, there's a big difference between overworked and overwhelmed, but the individual doesn't know the difference. And we just get overwhelmed and I'm burnt out and I'm pretending I'm not. And then I create a silos, or maybe we create gossip, or maybe you just go somewhere else, right? These are some of the challenges that most leaders are facing right now. And overall, it creates this morale and low performing environment. Now, all these things that, raise your hand if you can relate to these things, right? All these things have an emotional impact, have a financial impact to the individual and the company. So speculate, give yourself permission to speculate what's the financial impact in your company by the challenges that you're dealing with. Very good. I just want to see if their hand works. So go ahead and raise your electronic hand just to make sure that it's working, because I didn't see. Thank you, Stan. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Fabian. Thank you, Marcial. Very good. Very good. Yeah. Excellent. Thank
Those hands work.
Hands work.
And Bryce has a particular question. Bryce asked, what is a silo? If you have ever found yourself all alone, enjoying it and saying, leave me in my space, don't bother me, you would call that your own little silo. And in the context of organizations and companies, Bryce, one of the key challenges organizations face is exactly that a group of people will form a little clique and they become their own little company inside of an existing company, doing their own thing, rowing in a specific direction that may be tangential and opposite the direction the company really wants to go. Now that's a silo. And Gio, as you were going through that slide with the challenges, and you did say most leaders, and I want to make sure that when we say most leaders, we're actually talking about you. And we're talking about us, because this conversation is for you to cause a phenomenal breakthrough in your leadership. So Giovanni and I are asking you to take on that in the context of leadership, these challenges are the challenges you face. And the three key principles we're introducing is the opportunity for you to create a direct access to effective leadership for yourself. We'll introduce them very quickly, and we'll dive into each of them in the next 15 minutes or so, and then we'll interact together for you to create discovering them for yourself. The first one is this: if you need them, you can't lead them. It almost speaks for itself, but we'll leave it there. The second one is your ability or your capacity to delegate versus empower. So delegating versus empowering, there's something there for you to discover as a leader that will leave you after this 45 minutes more effective. And last but not least, connecting versus communicating. And in any way, shape, or form, do myself or Giovanni intend to juxtapose each of these as one is better than the other? That's not the point. The point is they are both there. They're both needed in leadership. And there's a certain way you lean and a certain way other leaders lean. And we're looking to discover what Giovanni and I call the punchline in each of these. So let's take the first one. If you need them, you can't lead them. How many of you would say you're very committed to the results that you want your organization to achieve? Raise your electronic hand or wave your big hand in front of the camera. Yes, you are really committed. And In my experience, my commitment to achieving the results of my enterprises leaves me blind sometimes. I am so committed that I get attached to the players in the game with me, my employees who play significant roles. And I create in my head, oh my God, if I lose so-and-so, if so-and-so is not happy, if so-and-so is not treated in a particular way, if I don't cater to XYZ needs, I will lose that individual or lose their trust or lose their productivity and fail in accomplishing the results I'm committed to. So as a result, I walk on eggshells. I don't say what I need to say. I'm not as forceful as or as powerful or as straight and as direct as I could be. So the opportunity there on this slide is to engage in 3 inquiries. Now, we're not going to engage in the inquiries here. As Giovanni promised, we're going to leave you with questions. And the first question is, what are your fears as a leader? And we're saying that if you discover your fear, the fear of losing someone, you'll be in a position to lead them more effectively. The second inquiry is this: if I'm afraid to talk them off, I may not have my attention on them. And one of the most effective ways to engage people is to have their personal goals connected to the bigger mission and vision of the company. So if you need them, meaning you're afraid of losing them, you really can't lead them because you won't have your attention on them. You'll have your attention on solving your fear. And then there's the second one, delegating versus empowering. Gio?
Thank you, Sarah. Yes. So that was really great, right? You discovering maybe there is a place for you to discover that maybe what's sourcing my leadership is my fears and not necessarily the opportunity of the project. Maybe you're gonna be in that question. You're gonna be in that question. Thank you, Sarah. Now, the next aspect, the next principle that we want you to discover for yourself and, just kind of be with this question. And Mia Williams, I'm not sure if you have a question or if your hand was up from before. Do you have a question, Mia? No, Mia doesn't have a question. Thank you, Mia. Very good. So the next principle that we want you to engage with, take some notes and leave you something to think about and create new question is delegating versus empowering. Now, when you are committed to projects and then you have something to do and a particular project to get done, one of the things that leaders face is that it may seem to be more simple to tell people what to do. I'm just going to tell you what to do, right? It just may be the easiest way to deal with something, right? Now, the challenge is that, and I know you have experienced this before, have you ever told someone something and they did something else? Yeah, raise your hand if you have ever told somebody something and they have done something else. Yeah, right? Has it had a big impact on the organization? Maybe. On your business? Maybe, right? You can see this at work and you can see this at home, right? So let's unpack that a little bit. Why is it that happens, right? Now, what we're asking you to find as you're discovering your fears as a leader, right? And then you are no longer being used by them. What we're asking you is and you're discovering the growth and development of the people you work with. What do they care about? What do they want? then the new aspect for you to discover is how to have people own the process of what they're committed to. So when you tell somebody what to do, they're listening for, well, tell me what to do, and I'll do it. They're listening for that, not listening for how do I own the process of this? How do I own a complete process of that? They're just listening for tell me what to do. And because of the mechanics of being human, they might have heard something else. So they did and they do something else. So what that looks like, at work is when you have someone you're delegating or someone you are working with and you need something to get done, then you ask them, well, how do you think this should get done? What do you see could get in the way of you getting that done? And then they're going to tell you, well, here's what I'm dealing with. Well, here are the obstacles. Well, they're going to say it, and then you direct, you give guidance, but now you're transferring the power. That person now starts becoming resourceful in front of you. Critical aspect in leadership. Does that make sense? Fabian, you have a question or it just makes sense to you?
Yes, I have a little question. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you, Fabian.
Okay.
Go ahead. Is there any
Hello,
chance that we
everybody.
can see you, Fabian? We would love to see you.
Yeah, of course. Give me 1 second. Okay, now can you see me? Yes.
I see Fabian.
Look at that.
Fabian,
How
it's
are
been
you?
a long time.
Okay. Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. And thank you so much. But I have a little question that just came to my mind about the point of if you need them, you can lead them. And it's how to recognize when I am, let's say, co-working with the people that I'm leading, and when do I need them? How can I identify that problem?
So great. Sora, you want to take that on?
Yeah, and you can add to that, Giovanni. Fabian, it's real easy. You are never not needing them. It is my nature and your nature to want to please others. You may say you don't, but really, if you look at your entire life, I have been working really hard to make sure that I'm on the good list with other people. So the opportunity in this conversation is not so much to find out when you're doing it, is to be at home and to be really clear that you are always doing it. And that awareness leaves you now powerful in the face of it. You don't have to look for it. You're always there. And in a moment when you acknowledge that for yourself, you get to choose. You get to choose actually asking someone, well, what really matters to you? Tell me about your goals. And you get to choose to stand for the mission and the vision of your enterprise without feeling as if you must do something like walk around on eggshells to make sure that you stay on the good list.
Now I got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And so that's cool, right? And Gio, at the risk of taking a minute, I'd love to ask Fabian. Fabian, where in your profession, your life, your enterprise, what you're up to in life, do you see that at play? And you're now left powerful in the face of it.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Where is that real in your life, where you can now see that you're always needing them, and now that you're aware, you have access to something new?
Okay, now I get the question. Well, it happens to me with my customers. Well, actually, I think sometimes that I don't need, and we as let's say independent with our enterprise. Sorry for my English. Sometimes I get tongue-tied. Okay, so sometimes when we don't think we need our customers is when we realize that sometimes we need them. Yeah, and it happens actually with customers, and of course with people that we are leading. We don't think but then we realize when we have to do that job for ourselves, we realize, oh man, I really need help with this, and that's important to me. So I don't know if that answers your question. Yeah, is it clear? Yeah.
Stay in the conversation, and whatever you say, as Giovanni's going to say next, whatever you say is really gold to you. So yeah, keep engaged and stay connected. Thank you, Fabian.
Thank you. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Fabian. That was really great. Great question, by the way. Mia said, hey, that's a great question. Very good. And so just to end this inquiry where we're here, discovering the difference between delegating versus empowering, in discovering that difference and how to engage with people where I'm giving authority, where I'm empowering, there is one little nugget that we want you to write this down. This is powerful. This will make you and break you as a leader. What you say is noise to them, but what they say is the world to them. What you say is noise to people. Oh my gosh, really? You talk and talk and talk and talk and it's noise? Like Sorel and I right now, we're speaking and we know that it's noise to you. We know it's noise to you. But here's where we know we have power. What you say is the world to you. So in your ability to develop a new capacity as a leader, in other words, a new capacity to listen, actively listen, you're listening for what people are saying. That's what matters. What matters is not what you say. What matters is what people say. Right? And in your ability to listen for that, you have a new paradigm, a new way to operate at work and at your life. So remember that little tip. What you say is noise to them, but what they say is the world to them. And then the last principle. Go ahead, Sarah.
If what you say is noise to them, and what they say is the world to them, that creates a context inside of which communicating and connecting happens. So you can start to get that if I want to connect, it isn't necessarily about what I say. It's about what people say. So as a leader, I assert that when we practice listening and creating the space for people to say, we become the kinds of leaders that people want to follow. As you can see in the first inquiry is people follow people before they follow a vision. Have you ever communicated something that was so eloquent, so well written, so well done, and nobody paid attention to it? You know, like those posts on Facebook or on Twitter. It's like, oh my God, 1 like in 15 days. Well, guess what? People aren't following the vision. They're not following the vision. They're following you. And when you are someone who creates the space for others to say, then we become the kinds of leaders that people follow. That's inquiry number 1. Inquiry number 2, you know, like in your mind, when you came in here, you already had an opinion, a view of Giovanni and of me. You know, I don't know if the light's shining on my bald head, but you know, you're wondering what are those 2 little things right there, right? Didn't that catch your attention? It's normal. There's nothing wrong with that. And you've got to get as a leader that eventually people become the way that you see them. So a question to ask continually is, how am I seeing this? How am I seeing them? It doesn't matter how they're seeing you, but how you see them and how you see the circumstances they're in creates for them the environment inside of which they get to speak. Because guess what? It is what they say that's the world to them. And you are so powerful that how you see them will actually give them what they can say.
I want to add something there, Sora.
Go ahead, Gio.
Yeah, this is really, really powerful. This is one of those powerful nuggets that you want to write this down. And this is very confronting if you're actually close to the conversation, right? And we don't know you, we're not making an assessment. It's just in our experience, over 40 years collectively doing this, something starts becoming really loud. And that one of the things that becomes really loud is that eventually people become the way that you see them. Now, here's the critical part. Discovering how you see people is difficult, right? It's really difficult, but it's in your speaking, and we're not going to put you, for you to call yourself out right now. But notice how you see people, and you can see it by the way you talk about people. If you say, man, people are so lazy, you start seeing how you see people. Oh my goodness, people are so stupid. Eventually they become how you see them. Oh my gosh, people are not committed. Eventually they become that you see them. Now, this is a kind of a difficult one, but when you start discovering the power of people become the way I see them, and you have to kind of transform your molecules so that you begin to create people with your speaking. And it's a powerful day for a leader when you get that for yourself. Go ahead, Sorel.
And in the same sense, you could say, oh my God, they are such visionaries. And eventually they become the way you say and see them. And what's even more powerful is that the way you say and see them, that which you're speaking to yourself over and over, gives you your stance. It gives you the way you carry yourself. It gives you your posture. So your nonverbal communication is always saying what you're not saying. And the big question is, what is sourcing your nonverbal communication? That's another inquiry. We're not going to cover that here, but you can start to get that for each of the inquiries we propose here. Who are people following? Who am I that they're following? Second inquiry, how do I see them? That gives who they are. Third inquiry, what is at the source of my nonverbal communication? Giovanni and I promise you engage in these inquiries, you will unfold a world for yourself where effectiveness is not a goal that you reach, but something that you practice. It's 36 after, we've got 45 minutes, and it's like, there's so much we want to pack into a very little time. And we do want to give you an opportunity to interact with what we've created. What are you saying? Because what you're saying is what really matters.
Excellent. Any questions? Any yeah buts? What are you seeing for yourself? How is this useful for you? What are you discovering so far in your leadership?
Well,
go ahead, Bryce, and then you go, Stan.
What I'm seeing for myself is how my world is, how my words and how my nonverbal communication creates my world in work. Like, I see people as a certain way, or I say how they are, and here it shows up. and I get upset, and then I blame them for my upsets, and it doesn't make a difference.
Bryce, I totally get it. And, I want to acknowledge you for saying what you're saying and all of that. And I want you to amplify it. Amplify it this way. You talked about it somewhat theoretically or hypothetically.
Mm-hmm.
Will it work for you to zero in on a particular interaction that you maybe just had, where that discovery, you can now see that, oh my God, that gave that interaction and that relationship. Can you bring it home?
Yeah.
Close to home.
Yeah. So about three weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, a little over there, I was watching the seafood department for someone else while they were on break. And they had came back from break pretty late, to the point where I accumulated overtime because of it. And I was not able to get relief. And so I created that person to be a narcissist. And then they became a narcissist for me.
I got that. And that had a direct impact on your relationship with that person, didn't it?
Yes.
And in that moment, the phrase, if you need them, you can't lead them, rings loud and clear, because in that moment, you became someone who needed them to be a narcissist.
Yes. So I can be right about them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's no leading them in that world.
No, I'm just making them wrong.
That's so great, Bryce.
Thank you, Bryce. Thank you.
That was really authentic, really real, what happens on the court. And beyond that, your authenticity was such an example for all of us. And so great. Thank you, Bryce. Really great.
Thank you.
Really great. Anybody else? We maybe have time for one more.
You said Stan had his hand up, right?
That's right. Go ahead, Stan.
Well, what was coming to my mind is that, people, the way you actually see people is the way that, that they will become. And trying to determine exactly what is your true vision, what is really happening at yourself at the core of your belief about the people that you're dealing with in your business, in your life, in your relationship, period. And I think that that really means so much, because we've heard the example so many times about teachers who get students, or who've got students that they thought were quote unquote not the brightest students, only to find out that there had been a mistake in the records, and the teacher had the records of some students who had not been performing well, but these were really, really brilliant students. And the teacher ended up dumbing them down because of the teacher's belief in the student's ability. And the teachers that got the test grades that were mistaken of the students that had quote unquote lower ability, but believed that they had higher ability because the scores they got the wrong scores. These scores said that they had higher ability, actually made those students come up because of their belief. Have we heard that before? I'm saying it's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
But it's our expectation. What are we really, really seeing, and what are we really expecting? And I think that we have to spend some time really, really expecting the best out of our people, and knowing that they want to be empowered, and that they have the ability to be empowered, and to and to move where we know they can move, and where they should move, in order to grow the organization and grow themselves. So I think that is important. I don't know if I said it.
Phenomenal example, right? And it's critical for us to take that study, because there's overwhelming evidence now of the power of creating expectations for others, how they rise. The critical aspect is to now map it to my life, to my way of leading others, because there is learning about something, and then there is applying it for my leadership? How am I seeing people?
How am I seeing people?
What's sourcing my nonverbal communication? And in the inquiry of that, leaves me in a whole new world. It leaves you, Stan, and leaves all of us in a whole new world in the context of leadership. Very good. So, anything you want to add about that?
No, not at this time. I want to encourage each of you to continue to look. And if you haven't said anything, the saying of which will crystallize for you that it is what you say that really matters. Take the opportunity now to say something.
Yes, go ahead and put in the chat or raise your hand if you have any questions and anything you want to be in the inquiry. You're discovering something, you're seeing something for yourself, right? And we want to empower where you're at and your work. Now, while some of you are looking to engage with us, we want to let you know about, we want to leave with you the opportunity of considering continuing the conversation with us. If you find that this is useful, this might be useful to your organization, this kind of inquiry. Now, I just want to tell you an overview of a program that we have that you can consider, and it's a 90-day cultural transformation and leadership development program that we do for companies. It's something for you to consider now or later, where we use these three different distinctions, ontology, these three different areas, strategy and neuroscience, to develop the leadership team, a leader, into having a paradigm shift. Now it looks something like this. This is a 30,000 view of what it looks like. 10 sessions, and each session is covering three different phases, basically. There is the phase of having the transformation at the individual level. The second phase is having the transformation at the team level. And the last phase is having the transformation at the strategy level. Because the team can be good, the individual can be great, but if the strategy is not great, then we're still going to end up in the same place. Very good. So we wanted to have that in the background in case you want to consider the opportunity of continuing the conversation. And the way to continue the conversation, I'm going to put in the chat the link where you can schedule yourself a call with us. It's either going to be either with me or with Sorrel or maybe someone from the team. But so one of us will schedule a call just to continue and make sure that we are empowering your business and the challenges that your businesses are dealing with. Sorrel, anything you want to add? We have 10 more minutes. We want to make sure that we use these minutes to empower you and see what you're hearing, what you're getting from this conversation.
Yeah, so imagine this. The organization that we're referring to could be your small business. If you work in a large corporation, it could be a corporation of 150, 200 people or more. It could even be a country. Giovanni and I have tested and given this work in countries like Haiti and Africa. Giovanni did that independently. It works because at the core of it, it is human beings that make up organizations. And these 10 days that Giovanni, these 10 sessions of the 90-day cultural program are designed to do three things. One, to unpack what it is to be a human being and give members of the team the opportunity to transform themselves such that they are at home being a human being. If they're not at home being a human being, we spend most of our times trying to survive being a human being. The second phase of the work is once you've done that, then there's the opportunity to start considering being a team that can perform at a high level. We create the environment where your team learns a specific language to do just that. And then in the third phase, your team practices speaking that language anchored in a big future that you're able to create that's devoid of the need to survive being a human being, and you practice that language and you practice working with each other to have that future be real. So I highly recommend that you refer yourself and your team, or the team of somebody you know could benefit from this. And Giovanni and I are available for the next 10 minutes to take any questions you have about the inquiries we created or about a company engaging Mindful Performance Blueprint and its team to transform their culture. So what do you want to say? Fabian, go ahead.
Okay, actually, I don't have a question, but I really want to say thank you, you too, for all this information. It's so valuable information and it's super helpful. So I really thank you, and thank you everyone in this for sharing your experiences and make this space so productive. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fabian. Thank you very much.
Now,
Well,
there are a few
being
names.
a copycat, I'd like to do the same thing that Fabian just did. Thanks for your words, Fabian. I can copy them. Well, you guys are doing a wonderful job. I really appreciate your concern for all of us.
Thank you, Stan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. Yeah. And then Tim, Ana Maria, Juan, you know,
At Pene, Megan.
Megan, you've been listening to the conversation, and then thoughts have been showing up. Would love to empower what you're thinking. What are you getting from this conversation? And what are you taking away from the conversation? Or maybe just any questions that you may have. No questions, not really any questions. You guys just want to hang out. You like the conversation, you just want to hang out. Well, very good. Very good. Thank you, Okuno. Thank you very much. Well, very good. Well, we wanted to make sure that we leave some time for questions and answers, because really what makes a difference is what you discover. What makes a difference is what you say. But just to review and to wrap up the conversation, remember the 3 principles. If you could write them down, and I'm going to send this to you. The 3 principles for effective leadership is to be in the inquiry of 3 things. The first one is, if you need them, you can lead them. Right? So you want to stand on what matters to them, and you want to stand on the future of the company, on the impact, the social impact of your company. You want to stand there and connect them to that. Connect yourself to it and connect others to it. The second principle is delegating versus empowering. You can create a follower if you tell them what to do, but you'll create a leader if you give authority. And you want to be someone who develops a new capacity to empower others. Right? Critical aspect that you develop a new capacity where you're empowering others or you're giving authority to others. And you can do this even in a controlled environment. And then finally, the last principle is connecting versus communicating. There's a saying that it's been around for a long time. I don't know who started saying it, but it's so true. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And when you're a leader and you have a job to do, one of the things that you think about, you and I think about is, well, it's not my job to care, right? So my job is to get the job done. However, absent of bringing the human element to the work environment, it leaves you handicapped as a leader, Not like bad, not like wrong, but remember, people connect with you first. And so there's developing this new capacity to see, well, what's sourcing my nonverbal communication, which is really what people are listening. Excellent. And then finally, if this has made any sense and if it has made any impact and you want to continue the conversation, we left you a calendar link where you can schedule yourself, and one of us will jump on the phone or on a Zoom call and continue the conversation to empower your business and then your future. Having said that, Sorel, I don't have anything else to say other than to acknowledge you for being here. I hope this was a productive lunch. If you're having lunch, I hope you got value from this, and I acknowledge you for taking your time to be here. We know that you're here because of the commitment that you have, not because you didn't have anything to do. Sorel, anything for you to say?
Yes, I am delighted to have spent this time with you. And I want to leave you with this. We don't have another name to call it, so we called it a webinar. And mostly the way you and I relate to webinars, there are places where we go to get new information, to add something to the bank of what I know, to confirm something I already know. I want you to know that that was not the intention of this conversation. In fact, Giovanni and myself and our team know that you already know it all. So this was not about giving you new information. It was about triggering something. So I'm asking you, whether you said something or didn't say anything, to take one thing out of what you already know and promise me that you're going to practice it in real life and cause a result in real life that wasn't going to happen anyway out of your participation today. I love you. I honor you. Thank you for being here.
Have a good rest of the day. I'll talk to you soon. And thank you for those of you who already scheduled yourselves. That's really great. We will talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Thank you, Stan.
Have a
Bye-bye,
great
everyone.
rest of the day. Bye, Cici.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Hanier. Bye-bye. Bye, Megan. Bye, Ana Maria. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye, Martha, Carlos, Hanier. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.